All right, everyone. The Huffington Post is still trying to outdo itself on the bigotry meter, and while also calling other people bigoted if they disagree politically with them. This has been a thing for the HuffPos, the Salon, Slate sort of groups. Politico certainly is a BuzzFeed. Some of these like second-tier left-wing rags. They have a tendency to ruminate on how everyone is bigoted but them, while they're the ones that are constantly churning out bigoted crap. This one really takes the cake, literally, and that's their article about white people food. Yeah, according to the Huffington Post, the black community needs to stop gauging whether the foods they're eating are healthy based on what white people eat. And then they go into this long, extremely stereotyped diatribe about what white people supposedly eat. It's like $9 kale smoothies and soy supplements and weird shit. I'm thinking that sounds more like the stereotypical left-wing diet. This sounds more like what stereotypical like gated community sort of yuppie and hipster people eat. And that's true, yeah. If you look at the way that deliberate hipsters like drink their micro brews and eat all the kale and stuff because they're obsessed with it, yeah, it's sort of like, hippie-ish. It's a little bit weird sometimes, but that's not what I eat. I don't drink kale smoothies. Kale is okay, but I wouldn't want to drink it. I like collards more than kale, honestly. Or even Brussels sprouts. Yeah, I am a little bit weird in my cuisine choices. Dude, I put ketchup on macaroni and cheese. This disgusts more people than it entices. I don't understand. It's like, fucking try it sometime, dude. But you gotta make sure to reheat the mac and cheese. Don't get it too wet. It has to be a slightly dry mac and cheese. Then you can really taste the ketchup. It really goes. Or day-old pizza that's like, it's a little bit dry. Maybe you don't even bother heating it. Yeah, you can dip it in ketchup. Yeah, absolutely. You'd be surprised. It's not bad. But the idea of like mayonnaise sandwiches and stuff like that, no, that falls on deaf ears. Ramen for every meal. I think what you're talking about are hipster people. Not all of which, by the way, are white. And the Huffington Post, look, always do this exercise. Before you publish something, before you make a video, before you make an article, invert any race or gender or whatever that you're mentioning. And if you start sounding like a Ku Klux Klan member, you probably shouldn't write the article. I can just imagine if the Huffington Post had made a black person food article and they're like, oh, lay down like, the very stereotypical, you think of like stereotypical black foods according to, I guess, the Huffington Post. It's like, oh yeah, fried chicken. Don't you think that people would be a little bit upset at the article? I would think it'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, okay, yeah, some people have shitty diets, but that doesn't make it black food. What are you talking about? It's like, oh, Mexican food. You're not eating tacos for dinner? Oh my God, it's just a bigoted diatribe. The thing is, it's no different from how this article sounds. And it's not like, oh, well, Styx is offended because he's white. No, because I don't eat that way. I'd be much more like, give me some good Cajun food or something from like, the Italian community or something. Honestly, I want lots of like lasagna's good. Lasagna is white people food too, because like Italy. All the good Greek food and all the sort of pan-Mediterranean dishes, so that's all white people. So what, you can't eat them because you're not white or something? Fuck you. It's the same thing as with the left when they ramble about cultural appropriation. They'll say, don't you do belly dancing, don't you do henna, don't you eat curried foods, you're culturally appropriating. But then when someone's like, they're not interested in doing that stuff, oh my God, you uncultured swine, you have no appreciation, you're culturally blind, you're a racist because you're blind to foreign cultures and refuse to partake in them in any way. But at the same time, if you do, then other leftists will say you're culturally appropriating. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I think. I'm actually along the lines of thought from like the school of someone like Anthony Bourdain or Andrew Zimmerman. Not to be, again, cliche or cringy at all. I do believe food brings people together. One of the few aspects of multiculturalism that honestly has worked is cuisine. Everything else, it's like people self-segregate and they end up attacking one another and it dissolves. It gives brain drain to the donor culture. It can reduce the stability of the host culture. Multiculturalism, by and large, is a fucking failure. But in cuisine, yeah, it's pretty good. Because then you get these little enclaves where you can go and you can get literally any dish under the sun. If you're in like an urban setting. You come out here to small town America, it's like, other than at the farmer's market, there's not a whole lot of, there's like Chinese restaurant. Okay, that's pretty standard, and it's Americanized Chinese food. There is one place here that also has some Vietnamese food. It's actually very good. Well, you can get sushi. You know, not necessarily the most authentic sushi, but you can get it. Some tempura. By and large, though, it's not exactly a whole lot of ethnic food choices. The Huffington Post probably doesn't want you to eat at their restaurants because, like, well, you're a white person. You're not supposed to enjoy Chinese food. How dare you appropriate their culture? But then again, if you just want to eat your mayonnaise sandwich, they'll say that you're uncultured or something. It's like, this is horrendously bigoted. The intonation that the average white person starts off the day with Zuckerberg-style toast with nothing on it and a kale smoothie is totally wrong. The fact is that there is a great deal of food diversity within white communities. I think you'd find, if you go to like West Virginia, you go out into the Ozark Mountains or something, you're going to find food that is considerably different than, you know, if you're in Little Italy. You go to Boston, you go to some Irish neighborhood in Boston, you're going to find food choices that are vastly different than if you're in some town in Texas where everything is a steak. You know, I've been all over the United States and eaten all sorts of wonderful foods. You got like a Cuban bread sandwich down in the Tampa area. It's pretty good. I like all sorts of food. Like, some people are picky. I'm not. I'm very multicultural when it comes to food, and I'll try literally anything once. Dude, I've eaten like menudo. I love menudo, which is cow stomach soup. Specifically in the tomato, we brought the red menudo. Never tried the other kind. It didn't look good. But I thought it was great. Tamales are great. I've eaten bugs. I've eaten all sorts of weird stuff. I've eaten exotic meats like, alligator and bison and stuff. Bison burgers. By the way, if you've never had buffalo meat, it is so much better than any beef that you will ever find. It's more expensive, but it's considerably better. Despite the fact that it's so much more lean, it's actually more flavorful. And like, ostrich is good too, although it's easy to burn. If you've ever tried ostrich meat, surprising, it really does taste like chicken. Well, kind of like chicken mixed with, I don't know, goat almost. It's slightly gamey, but it's really good. Yeah. It's like food. People should be able to eat what they want. If that means a black person wants to drink a kale smoothie, who are you to fucking tell them they can't? If that means a white person wants to sit there and eat a watermelon, it's like they're not trying to be racist. They want a fucking watermelon. Who fucking cares? These tropes about who eats what are straight out of, by the way, sort of that bigoted period, especially with relation to cartoons, from the Depression era, sort of like the late 20s and 30s, up through the 1960s and 70s. Those specific styles of tropes with food, like look up racist Betty Boop or something like that. That's where that's from. The idea that certain groups of people, partially it was geographic maybe 100 years ago. It's no longer like that. People have sort of mixed it up in urban communities and made all sorts of fusion dishes too. That's not, what are you talking about? No, yes, I eat toast with kale on it every day. That's all I eat, the fucking kale and toast. Sometimes with mayonnaise. Yeah, that's not me. Maybe some white people are like that, but it's like, that's not cuisine. That's not even really food. That's hipsterdom, and that's more of a facet of people that tend to be on the left. Drink their microbrew that's made with yeast from some dude's beard and stupid shit like that. I brewed this wine with my vaginal yeast infection. It's really, really tasty, and then we'll start in on the kale ale. It's like, you'll find more of that, ironically, in Vermont. Probably because it's full of liberals. That's about all. Peace out.